What is up, guys? Syiler here, and today we're going to be doing a bit of maybe a new series, not too sure. Random rants whenever. There's no plan for this being weekly or whatever, but when I'm in the mood to rant, I like to rant, and I do like to discuss things, especially in WoW, because I've played the game for so long. I feel I have strong opinions about things in the game because of how long I've played, and my opinions mean something. It's an opinion at the end of the day, so it just means something to me. But I feel it has a bit of weight behind it, is what I'm trying to get at. So, in this video, I want to talk about world PvP because, well, it's something that you always see being brought up. Every expansion, every patch, every day, someone's like, world PvP... And I apologize if you can hear that bird in the background. It's going crazy right now. It's going ham. World PvP is always brought up. Every single day, it's like, Blizzard's killed world PvP, you've done this, and you've done that, and you stabbed it in the back, you bastards. And, that always happens, and people like to complain in the game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's something people play for, or pay for. So they play for? And they feel they have the right to control the game, but just on their own. Like, their one opinion means Blizzard should be like, wait, what did you say? What did you say, person who's level 10? Okay, you want us to make it so that when you log on, you can instantly kill everyone. Alright, done. Is that you pay us $8.99 a month, we'll do that for you. Like, they expect this kind of special treatment, but everyone pays. Like, everyone's opinions matter just as much as yours do. Even like myself, played for a while, I still pay the same as everyone else. They still have the same right to complain just as much as I do. But it doesn't mean things should actually change because they want them to. So, moving away from the random rant that doesn't really mean anything. In terms of world PvP, we have to look at a few things. First of all, has world PvP actually died? Did it ever actually die? What happened to make it die? And we have to look at the different expansions and how world PvP was affected in each expansion, and, how it is currently and how it's going to be in the next expansion. So let's all rewind back to vanilla now. Unfortunately, I didn't get to experience too much of vanilla WoW. I was still leveling up and only hit max level for a very short period of time before TBC was launched. Was playing for a while before TBC, but I was just noobing around, not really focusing on the game, didn't have huge interest in the game, but I still got to see some of vanilla WoW. Goddamn vanilla WoW. And, I know of people who played then and, have okay thoughts and memories of vanilla WoW. Now, vanilla WoW originally, there was no battlegrounds. To get honor, you had to fight people in the world. That was the first creation of world PvP. The fact that was your only choice. You wanted honor, you wanted to kill people, you were doing it out in the world. So players kind of developed their own battleground, and you might remember the Battle for Hillsbrad. That was people fight from Alliance going to South Shore, Tarren Mill for the Horde, and they would fight there as like a neutral ground to gain honor. That was how it worked. And then they introduced battlegrounds because they were like, well, this is really, really ineffective. They need somewhere to actually go and for it to be beneficial for them. As soon as battlegrounds were launched, the amount of people doing the world PvP there was reduced significantly, mainly because of a few things, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the main reason was because, one, world PvP didn't really reward people, and two, it was just so much more beneficial to do battlegrounds, because one, say you're bad geared, or not very good, or whatever, you go and fight in the world, someone kills you, chances are they're going to keep killing you, and you're not going to gain anything from it, but they will. Great. But if you're in a battleground, at least you stand some chance of killing someone, or being a part of a kill, and you gain honor, from the battleground. So it's a win-win for you. No matter what, you're going to see some honor from it, while in the world PvP, you're not. So a lot more people found that, it was just the most logical choice. Yeah, you could still do the world PvP, it wasn't removed from them, but they were given two options. And people were just like, well, do I want a bit of a cheesecake, or do I want the whole cheesecake? Well, I want all the cheesecake. No. And that was the way they went about it. So, that was kind of the first nail in the coffin for the world PvP, but it isn't Blizzard killing it. They didn't actually do anything to make it worse. They didn't change it. All they did was give people an option. And people chose to not world PvP. And then they realized that people did, that's when the bitching started, and people were like, oh, you've killed world PvP. So then they created some outdoor objectives, the Syiler, the Eastern Plaguelands. They were put in to help motivate people to do world PvP, these little things that give you bonuses and things, and you could go out and you could do them, and chances are I think the Syiler one flagged you for PvP if you were carrying the dust, and you were forced into like a PvP scenario by taking part in that, no matter what server you were on. And that was a kind of incentive for people to world PvP. Still didn't really change much though. Some people took part, but it didn't really spark this huge interest for world PvP. So before we move on to TBC, this is the first thing I want to make clear. Vanilla was very imbalanced. Very, very, very imbalanced. Some classes, or specs, I should say, were just useless. They had no purpose. A Boomkin was... The Boomkin was pretty much just a buff, and even then, it wasn't even worth taking it for the buff. It was terrible. While if you give a Enhanced Shaman right air, Sulfuras, oh my god, it was an unstoppable destructive force of doom. And rogues could, kill you before you could actually do anything. Literally, they'd stun you and you'd die. So, the game was all over the place. It really, really was. And that was the first kind of, PvP gear. PvE gear is actually pretty damn good in the world, because, as I said, an Enhanced Shaman with Sulfuras would do crazy damage. He would kill a lot of people. And it was the same for other things, certain classes having X amount of gear, PvE gear, and, being in the world would do crazy damage, while other things would just flop around. So the game was very, very imbalanced in vanilla. There's loads of other issues with it, but, So, the PvE gear argument that people like to bring in MoP has always been there. It's a PvE game at the end of the day. I hate to say this, but it's kind of like PvE content? PvP content. PvE is always slightly above PvP in Blizzard Dies, I feel anyway. They always put more focus into PvE because, that's really what the game is. It's killing big things in the world. You're killing these big bosses and enemies from the Warcraft series, and you're saving the planet. And PvP is just kind of like the side story in a sense. As much as they like to try and things like that, I always feel PvE is always going to have that slight advantage. So, even in the old history, PvE gear was still, in certain situations, better than PvP gear in the world. So, the current argument of PvE gear killed world PvP, it's always been like that. Nothing's changed. And we'll look at each expansion and how it's the same pretty much. So, moving on to TBC. In TBC, they realized that, they like people fighting in the world. They understand that they've kind of removed people's interest in the world PvP, so they added some objectives and rewards in TBC. You had the one in Hellfire, the 3 towers. You get points for them, and you could turn them in for gems? I think it was gems. And then you had the one in Terracar. Not too many people bothered with that one, but, that gave you the meta gems and some other stuff. And then you had the ones in Nagrand. I don't know why it took me so long to remember Nagrand. You had Halar, and that gave you mounts and loads of cool stuff, and it was a bit of a grind, but it was this consistent battle going on if you're on a balanced server. And then they also had the arena in Nagrand as well, the all people flagged arena, so anyone could go there and you could fight anyone. So they were the kind of things that they put into TBC to continue the effort to make world PvP a thing. But there was never really any rewards, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on as well, but they rewarded people slightly for world PvP, but you got more rewards from, and they added arena in the same expansion, so you got a lot more rewards from doing arena, and arena was more of what people wanted anyway, because it was this small 2v2, 3v3, 5v5 fight, which you would do in the world, but you'd have no outside effects ruining the fight kind of thing. You'd have a straight up This is a 3v3. If we win, we beat you. You know, it's not a, oh, but you knocked me off the cliff, you noob. You know, there's none of that. It's a straight up, we win. You know, we beat you, haha, noob. So people prefer doing that because you got the conquest gear, and you could still do battlegrounds to get honor gear. So World PvP just didn't give you enough reward for people to do it. And then they introduced the Isle of Quel'Danas. Now, you know, obviously it was mainly a PvE thing. It had a dungeon, it had a raid in it, and it had all these like PvE based objectives going on. But they also make the places like that known flying for a reason. You know, that's been happening since TBC because they want people to go there and have to, you know, be around other people. Everyone's going to go there because it's the new place. People are going to be questing, and you're not going to be able to like fly away or anything like that. So straight up, you'll be able to fight. You'll have to fight. And they've always kind of kept that going even into the map we've had multiple of those already. You know, little islands that you can't fly on that give you reason to go there and cause PvP to happen on a PvP server. Now, also in TBC, you've got to remember things like Warglaives. Warglaives caused huge imbalance. And PvE gear, like if you're in full tier 6 with like Warglaives, you do so much damage to someone in a PvP gear. It wasn't even funny. Like, I think even for Arena, I think the best in slot gear was, oh, that voice crack, was like Warglaives and gear from Sunwell Plateau and things like that. And it wasn't actually the Conquest gear. You would be better playing in the PvE gear than the PvP gear. Can't quite remember that, but I'm pretty sure that was a setup people used to run with to do the damage. You'd get crushed if you got hit, but you'd hit so friggin' hard it was untrue. And then moving on to Wrath. Wrath, they started to realize, okay, we've tried the World PvP thing, you know, not quite working. We need to give people an incentive to PvP. And then bam, they came out with Winter's Grasp. Winter's Grasp was a really interesting idea and a big risk and step for them to take, because they were basically making PvE people PvP so that they could PvE. And also PvP has got a benefit from that as well. So it forced those who normally wouldn't PvE into World PvP and gave mutual benefit. You know, you unlocked the raid if you won, you gained tokens which could be turned in for gear, which wasn't too bad. At the time, I don't think they upgraded it though, did they? Or maybe they did, I can't remember. But in the beginning, you know, the gear was pretty good. And then the raid itself kept getting upgraded. They'd add a new boss every time a new patch came or a new like tier came out, so that you always had a reason to go there. So that, you know, it kept the battle going. And you'd get PvP gear 90% of the time. As a PvE, it was the bane of doing friggin' Vault of Arcavan. You'd go there like, please be tier, please be tier. Friggin' PvP, no. And it'd happen every time, let's be real, but you might get some PvE gear every once in a while. But you'd still do it because it was that chance at some tier gear, and tier gear was huge. Tier gear was great to get for basically free, and you could do the 25-man version very, very easily. You could pug it, and if you were only in a 10-man guild, you'd be able to get this 25-man piece, which was much stronger than the 10-man piece would be, because there was differences back then. So that was their kind of, okay, we want people to World PvP, this is our idea, go for it. And it was an okay idea, but on unbalanced servers, it wasn't really very effective because, you know, one faction would just win all the time, or a faction that cared about it more would just have it all the time. So then they tried to change it so that the other faction would have a higher chance of winning if you'd had control of it for X amount of time, and then you'd have a higher chance of actually being able to win. And they tried to tweak it like that, but it's very, very hard to do. And eventually people just did the raid, and then didn't really bother with it past that. So it became a bit obsolete, but it was a good effort, I'll give them that. It was definitely a cool idea, and I do like the idea of what they tried to do. And it was kind of just like a big ongoing battleground, kind of like a, I don't want to say this because people will probably get pissed, but kind of like an old AV, in the sense, you know, it was ongoing, lasted for ages, you know, you could always be going there, and it'd be, you know, happening quite frequently. On the point of old AV, I feel people consider that like a world PvP as well. I was talking to some people to get some opinions about this video before I made it. And a lot of people brought up old AV and saying that they should bring it back. I feel that's a terrible idea now. Imagine, like, people just don't have time. I don't have time to sit in a battleground for an hour and a half. Like, no, not even, well, not, they lasted for a lot longer than that, but I'm just saying even an hour and a half would be too much for me to sit in a battleground right now. And I know a lot of other people don't want to do that anymore. It's just we're too used to these shorter scenarios to get more bang for our buck, basically. I don't want to be sat there for hours and hours. I'd rather just bam, get in, get it done, get out. So I don't think old AV would solve anything. If anything, maybe an option for a longer, like, old AV for those who want to tinted glasses, but I mean, I guess it could be fun. And it'd be fun to check out again, but I don't feel it would be very popular after a while. I feel people would go and then get bored of it and be like, I'm just gonna blacklist AV again, not do AV at all. See you, AV. See ya. So then after, oh, and also in Wrath, they also put in the option to kill world leaders. They put in the achievements where if you killed all the world leaders, you got a mount. Great idea, really, really great, because that give people PvE and PvP a reason to go out and fight in the enemy city. Where else are you going to get world PvP if not in the enemy city? There's going to be, pardon me, there's going to be people there no matter what. So why not go there and fight them there? That's the best place you're going to find some people to kill. So that was a great addition. No one does it anymore though. I guess a lot of people have already got it, I guess it's just harder to do or something now, but I remember back in like Wrath, even in Kata for a while, people would be like, looking for member for the Horde. Need 3 heals, no rats, lol. And then it would be like you'd go kill all the raid leaders, and then they'd probably launch a counter attack and do it that way. And I remember, back in my day, World PvP to me, the most memorable thing about World PvP was back in TBC. We were kind of outnumbered on Horde, but someone set up a forum thread saying, we're sick of your crap alliance, we're gonna fight you on the bridge in between, in Blade's Edge, where there's like, between the Horde and the alliance and the Horde base, meet there at X time and we'll fight to the death. So we all went there, got our guild, and there was about maybe 40, 50 of us there, all waiting. And one guy came past, and I think that poor guy was just questing, to be honest, and we killed him. And we were like, ha, noob, get owned. And no one else came. So we were like, well, if they're not going to come to us, we're going to go to them. So we set off, we got more people, we went to the major city, we killed Stormwind, we took it over, and then we left and we went back to Org, and we were like, ha, noobs. And then we found out they were launching a counterattack. They were going to come, and they were going to try and kill us. And we basically countered their counterattack. We all hid in Thrall's room, because back then it was Thrall that you had to save. We all hid there in the corners, getting like 1 FPS on my monitor with like a square monitor. I was like, I'm gonna do this. They all come in and like lagging around trying to hit people, and we wiped them and we stopped them from doing anything. And it was so much fun, because that's something you remember. That to me is a world PvP event, a big random sort of battle that just takes place for no reason, and it was awesome. So, I feel world PvP is more of a choice, something you just want to do rather than being rewarded for it. Like, we didn't get anything from that. We didn't get rewarded for that, but we got enjoyment out of it. It was just something we'd set up and ended up doing. And that kind of, remember that what I've just said, because that'll fit into the video a little bit later on. I wanted to talk about that a little bit earlier, but whatever. So yeah, they introduced the option to kill world leaders. We killed them, and you'd get a mount. So that gave people a big incentive to do it, but then that kind of died down in Cataclysm. In Cata, they added in, another island to basically make world PvP a thing. They added in the island, they added in the Tolbarad. Cool idea, once again, a PvP questing hub. You'd PvP and do dailies in like the downtime, and then you'd have this island battle to get the raid instance through the the peak time kind of thing, through the when the timer ran out. A lot of people abused it. A lot of people found ways of just completing it without actually taking part and things like that, which was a shame. And once again, you weren't hugely rewarded. You could get like some things, like I think it was a weapon for being exalted, and like mounts and pets. You know, they tried to make it a lot more appealing to both the PvE and PvP players. But it wasn't like I need to do this because it's going to give me my best in slot for life world PvP weapon, you know? It wasn't really anything that hugely appealed to PvPers, it was just kind of a temporary upgrade. But it was a cool idea, you know, they tried once again to continue that. And then in MOP, they kind of scrapped the whole thing. They went away from, you know, these only PvP zones to give it a try, see how it went, see if it changed anything. And at first there was nothing like that you could do. Everywhere was flying, and that's where the bitching really began, because everyone was saying, oh, people are just flying away and things like that. And then later on they added in the Flundering Isles, and then later on after that they added in the Timeless Isle. And the Timeless Isle is a really great place for world PvP to take part, because it's basically somewhere for you to go. You can fight anyone because of the added item they added. You can fight anyone you want, and, you know, world PvP. But this is where I get onto the point of the video. So, looking through the history of things, they've always tried to do stuff for world PvP. They've always added things and, you know, tried to change things and tested things to bring back world PvP. It didn't really work at any point. There's not been a time where world PvP has been booming. Everyone's like, yeah, world PvP is back, you know. There's always been things that have helped, but nothing that's really give it this aura that everyone loves and stops bitching, basically. So, the next point of the video is why? Why do people not feel world PvP is there anymore? And part of the reason for it, I feel people confuse world PvP. Now, to me, personally, what I see as world PvP is that I'm doing some quests, I see someone, I fight them, they want to fight me, we fight, he might kill me, I might kill him, and he might come back and try and get me while I'm doing something, and I get him, and, you know, he brings some friends, so I bring some friends, and we end up having like a 5v5 scrap, just randomly out of nowhere. While other people seem to see world PvP as, ha, I'm level 90, I'm gonna kill some level 12s. I just punched my desk, but it's fine, you get the point. I'm just gonna punch some level 12s, kill them, be like, lol noobs. Or he's gonna go and gank someone with 100k less HP than him. That person stands no chance. He knows that person stands no chance, but he'll still feel good about himself because he's killed someone who couldn't actually really do anything about it. And if you log onto your main, like, oh, I'm gonna get my main, they'll just go away. They'll fly up in the air and they'll like just sit there, and they'll not even bother fighting you because they know they can't win. Or even if they had an equal ground, they still probably wouldn't fight because all they want to do is kill people that they know they can kill. It's a guaranteed kill for them. And that's kind of the problem with the Timeless Isle. On my server now, no one really bothers with it because the only people who do are like rogues and feral druids, and they'll just sit in stealth. They'll wait for some guy who has like 200k HP who's looking to get some gear, and they'll kill him, and that's all they'll do. Because they don't actually want to, you know, they don't want the competition of actually having to fight people who can win against them. And it's, you know, to me that isn't really fun, but that's what a lot of people see as world PvP for some reason. But I will say that MOP has changed world PvP quite a lot. Like, on my enhancement shaman, I am very highly, well, not very high, but, you know, quite well PvE geared. If someone tries to take me on the Timeless Isle and they've got between normal to blue gear or PvP gear, I'm probably going to poop on them. Not with all my cooldowns up, I do 800k to 1,000,000 burst damage. I do a lot of damage. In the world, you know, trinket procs instantly and things like that, I'm gonna hurt them. Ascendants, wolves, lava lash, bloodlust, everything that I've got, bam, they're gonna feel some pain. So generally, like, I feel that the gap between PvE gear and PvP gear has got better. It's always been there. Don't confuse what I'm saying. It has always been some form of gap between PvE gear and PvP gear in world PvP. But I feel the gap has become bigger. But they've made it equal in battlegrounds and things like that, which is really, really good because, you know, if you had Shadow Zedge in or Shadowmourne in like Battlegrounds in Wrath or things like that, you would decimate. You'd do so much damage. Same in like Kata if you had the legendary daggers or the staff. It was scary. If I seen a mage with the legendary staff, like I would run because he's just about to one-shot me. So overall, I feel Blizzard's tried to bring back World PvP. I really do. I feel it's something they think about when they make new expansions, and in the next expansion, they will be adding a new island where it's just going to be PvP based. I feel PvE gear in the world needs to maybe change. But they need to make it so PvE geared players still stand a chance. Just not quite the way they do right now. Because if I'm questing or something, I don't want to just stand no chance against someone who's in PvP gear, you know, coming up and fighting me. But I guess that's not really a bad thing. Because if you're in a PvP server, you should have a PvP set of gear. I can kind of agree with people who say that. Because, you know, if I'm on a world PvP server, if I'm on a PvP server, I intend to be I intend to be attacked. I'm on a PvP server. If I don't like it, I go to another server. That's something you just have to put up with being on a PvP server. If you want a chance to fight against people, you should have some form of PvP gear at least. I can kind of agree when people say that. But it's just not nice when it's times where PvP gear absolutely decimates PvE and you stand no chance of even being able to do anything. In terms of people saying flying mounts has ruined world PvP, I completely disagree. If I don't want to fight you, I'm not going to fight you. I will go away and wait until you stop being annoying. I'll come back and do what I'm trying to do. I don't feel like back in the old days you could just get on your ground mount and run away. Like, it makes no difference. If someone doesn't want to fight you, they won't fight you. And if they do, they will. They won't fly away. And if they kill you and then fly away, then I don't understand why that's an issue. They've killed you and flown away. They shouldn't have to run, literally run away. And it is that if people have issues with flying mounts, it'd be like saying, well, I've got an issue with rogue being able to vanish when I'm fighting them. You know, that's the same thing. They can just easily escape out of combat, and they no longer fight me. You know, it's the same kind of thing. So I don't feel flying mounts have really done anything for world PvP. Like, I don't feel it's affected it in a negative or positive way. It's kind of neutral ground. If people want to fight you, they will fight you. If they don't want to fight you, they won't fight you. I mean, they added the turtle shell, and pretty much all that's used for is to gank people. You know, like someone's AFK on the flying mount, you'll knock them off, and they'll die. That's pretty much all I've ever really seen it used for. Or if someone's like taunting you and like flying down near you, you'll knock them out of the air and kill them. But apart from that, like, I haven't really seen it used in scenarios where it's like, this person's trying to fight me, I'm going to get them out of the air, you know, they're about to escape. It never really happens. And finally, that really covers... Oh yeah, and what can they do to fix world PvP? So, in terms of fixing world PvP, I feel there needs to be some kind of benefit. We talked about all the expansions and what they did for world PvP in those expansions, but you'll notice one thing that I never really mentioned. There isn't a huge reward for PvP players who kill people in the world. Yeah, Vanilla gave honor points. Yeah, TBC gave like a meta gem. Yeah, Wrath gave some okay PvP gear. Yeah, Kata gave like some mounts. Same with Mop, we got some mounts and cosmetic things and stuff that doesn't really change much. But there needs to be some kind of gear that maybe only works in the world, that, you know, gives you a good world PvP advantage. And, you know, it needs to be beneficial. It needs to be something that's like, yeah, I'm going to world PvP so I can get this best in slot world PvP dagger, because it's really, really strong, and, you know, it's going to help me kill people better in the world. And if I'm first a PvP player who doesn't have it, I'm going to have a better chance of winning. I feel there needs to be some kind of benefit if you're going to world PvP, if they want to really, really bring world PvP back. But that's when it becomes the issue. They have to balance it then. They have to make sure that this item isn't too overpowered, and if it's underpowered, then no one's going to want it. They have to make sure it's, you know, it's not going to be used for... It's not going to be basically exploitable. People aren't going to abuse the item, in a sense. You know, they can't have the advantage to be too big, but it needs to be enough for someone to actually care about. So, that would be the best way to fix it. And hopefully this new island will introduce some kind of method for people to get, things that will help them. On this new island, if you you fight on the island in WoD, you're gonna get what is it? You can buy like siege engines and things like that. And they might add gear in. Hopefully they do some kind of something just to motivate people to want to go and do it. They have to give some kind of rewards, not just like amount, but rewards that keep people going back and keep them interested in doing it. Otherwise, it'll just be fun for a little bit and then it'll die down. So that's solely talking about world PvP. Like that's what I feel they could do for world PvP. So PvE game might need a slight tweak. Well, with the item squish, I think things will fit back into place in terms of PvE gear. It won't be too crazy as it is now. And they need to give some kind of incentive for players. The new island will be ground mounts anyway, so people can't complain about people flying away. And there'll be some kind of incentive for people to actually want a PvP. So, if you agree, disagree, whatever, that's fine. This is my opinions. This is a Says. I'm just saying what I think. Hopefully you agree. Let me know if you don't, or even if you do, your thoughts and opinions on the world PvP issue. Do you feel world PvP is actually dead? Is it Blizzard who killed it, or is it the players? I'm more leaning towards the players. PvP has always been there. If you want to fight someone in the world, go and fight someone. I know guilds and servers that set up events for world PvP because they want to world PvP, and there's nothing stopping you from doing that. There's nothing stopping you from going and fighting people. And there's nothing stopping them from wanting to fight you. So I feel it's more on the players' hand rather than Blizzard's that world PvP isn't as good as it could be, but I also feel Blizzard could do more to help players want to world PvP. That is also an issue out there. So let me know what you think, and I think maybe in the next video, either at the end or the beginning, I'll go through the comments and we'll quickly talk about what people have said, and then we'll go from there and talk about the next topic. So hopefully this is something you enjoy. I don't know, I'm not really used to doing the face cam sort of discussions, but it's something I like to do. I do like to rant and go on with myself and just have no idea what I'm actually planning on saying, but saying it anyway because it's what's on my head, what's in my head. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more videos coming soon. Ciao.